Today we delve into one of the most infamous true crime cases that recently unfolded in South Korea, centering around a 32-year-old man named Lee Ki-young, who used his good looks and K-pop idol appearance to deceive and fool people around him. Lee was arrested for the murder of a taxi driver he had a collision with. What happened next unraveled the gruesome details of a series of crimes which left a country in shock, and a story that would later draw characteristics similar to the Oscar-winning film Parasite. This is the cold-blooded case of the real-life Parasite, the taxi driver murderer, Lee Ki-young. Hello everyone, and welcome to True Crime Asia. On Christmas Day 2022, a day of celebration and warmth with family and friends for many, was about to take a disturbing turn for one young woman. As she searched through her boyfriend's apartment looking for cat food, she made a very terrifying discovery: the lifeless body of a man hidden in a closet. The young woman immediately reported the body to the police, and when they arrived, they were able to identify the deceased man as a taxi driver in his 60s who had been reported missing 6 days prior by his family. The person residing in this apartment, the boyfriend of the woman who made the report, was Lee Ki-young. On December 20th, 2022, just days before Christmas, Lee had been out drinking with his girlfriend and her parents in an attempt to impress them. After dinner, Lee got into his car to drive home. His girlfriend attempted to stop him, and he already had previous DUI convictions that had led to probation and imprisonment. This, however, didn't stop Lee from making the reckless decision to once again drive under the influence. And it was immediately after driving the car out of the alley that he collided with a taxi. Lee knew that one more DUI would result in grave consequences, so, not wanting the taxi driver to involve the police, Lee tried to bargain with him and proposed a cash settlement. He invited the taxi driver to his apartment where he said the cash was, but when they arrived, there was no cash to be seen. Instead, Lee brutally beat the 60-year-old man to death and hid his body in the closet. There it would lay for 5 whole days until it would be discovered by his girlfriend on Christmas Day. In the 5 days between the car accident and the discovery of the body, Lee stole the victim's personal information and credit cards. He took out a $40,000 loan in the victim's name and spent the money on luxury goods like couple rings for him and his girlfriend, upscale hotels, and expensive restaurants. What's even more shocking is Lee also impersonated the taxi driver, responding to messages from the victim's family, including his son, claiming he couldn't return home due to a dead phone battery. A police report made by the taxi driver's son at 3:30 a.m. on Christmas Day read, "My father has not been home for days, and I just texted him, but I think someone else, not my father, is texting me back." Some residents living in the same apartment complex told media they believed that Lee may have attempted to cover up his murder. One resident declared, "I remember how the bathroom, connected with the fan system, used to smell so much of cigarette smoke since the suspect came to live in 2021. But strangely, from December 22nd to 24th, there was this intense smell of roses. I now wonder if he was trying to hide another distinct smell," they added. Once Lee's girlfriend reported the body, Lee was taken in for questioning, and forensic teams started searching for clues in his apartment and car. This was when the police and investigators uncovered that the alleged murder of the taxi driver was only the tip of the iceberg. After an investigation by the National Forensic Service, the Ilsan-dongbu police station released a statement saying that the DNA of 4 people, including DNA matching the taxi driver, was found in the apartment where Lee lived and in his car, raising the possibility of additional victims. They also found out that the apartment Lee was living in was registered under the name of a woman in her 50s, named Miss J. Neighbors reported that Lee and Miss J had been in a relationship since April 2021, despite a significant age difference. Miss J was over 20 years older than Lee. It was during the questioning, Lee openly admitted that Miss J was his former girlfriend and shockingly confessed to taking her life in August 2021, 5 months after living together in her apartment. His police report states that he stabbed her with a blunt object 10 times before throwing her body into a stream in Paju. However, he later changed his story to say he buried her on the banks of the stream. Even though extensive searches for the body were made by the relevant police departments, including one where the suspect cooperated by leading officers directly to the alleged scene of the crime, unfortunately to this day, the body of Miss J still remains missing. Just like with the murder of the taxi driver, Lee went to great lengths to impersonate Miss J after her passing, updating her online profiles to make it seem like she was still alive, fooling her family and friends. He also took out loans in Miss J's name, accumulating a debt of approximately $15,000 after her passing, and police found a contract between Lee and his ex-girlfriend that shows Lee borrowed $235,700 from her. Leading up to the murder of the taxi driver in 2022, Lee was also in contact with another 380 people, and, hours before his arrest, he was even spotted approaching several young men in their 20s, claiming to be wealthy and offering to buy them meals and drinks. Apparently, during the conversation, he asked them if they would ever take someone's life for millions of dollars, and later, the security footage captured Lee engaging in a physical altercation with these individuals. Another sign of Lee's unstable and dangerous mental state was furthermore reported in a video of him torturing one of his cats in a guest house swimming pool. The footage, which was filmed by a fellow guest, includes his former girlfriend's voice, putting her at the scene. In the video, Lee puts his cat in the swimming pool, which it is obviously afraid of, and as the cat squirms and struggles to get out of the water, Lee pulls it back in, delighted at its obvious distress. The similarities of Lee's actions during the two murders led officers to believe that they were premeditated with a primary motive of stealing his victim's belongings and identity for his own financial gains. Hence why he's been named the real-life Parasite. Some even suspect he may suffer from Ripley's syndrome, a personality disorder where individuals become entangled in their own web of lies, unable to accept reality. This disorder can manifest as repeated deception, manipulation, impulsiveness, arrogance, lack of empathy, disrespect for others, and a history of criminal activity. Although Lee was put under psychological evaluation by two profilers to determine if he was psychopathic during the police inquiry, experts concluded that it could not be determined. However, the analysis did reveal high-risk levels of recidivism, meaning he had a higher risk of reoffending. In May 2023, the 32-years-old Lee Ki-young was sentenced to life imprisonment for double homicide with a total of 9 charges, including robbery, fraud, murder, and abandonment of a body. He was also ordered 30 years of electronic location tracking. The prosecutors appealed to the court to give Lee the death penalty, as it is still legal in South Korea, stating, Lee elaborately murdered 2 victims and used their money for his entertainment, showing a contempt attitude toward human life. They added, the pain and grief suffered by the victims' families, the anxiety and shock felt by the public, and the need to defend society by preventing similar crimes, all validate the maximum penalty allowed by law. The court's final judgment and reasoning for not giving Lee the death penalty was based on the fact that he pleaded guilty to all of the charges, and even deposited the equivalent of $22,500 for the victim's family. There is one small slice of happiness to this story. Lee's pets, which were left and subsequently abandoned in the apartment after his arrest, 3 cats and a dog, were taken to the Korea Animal Rescue Management Association, a shelter for abandoned animals in Paju, to be put up for adoption. Normally, if there is no adoption request in the first 20 days, they are suppressed, and these animals were no exception. However, thankfully, citizens who came across this story through the media reached out to the shelter, and all 4 pets have since found their new forever families. What are your thoughts on this horrific series of events? And what would you do if you found a body in your partner's closet? Leave a comment below, but please remember to be respectful. We would like to take this moment to express our deepest sympathy to the families and individuals affected by these recent events. We sincerely hope that by sharing their story, we can raise awareness, identify and prevent potential threats, and prevent the pain and suffering experienced by the victims and their families from happening again in the future. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more true crime stories from across Asia.